You are listening to Brink Radio.
What's happening, everybody? Of course, it's your host, Brink Young, coming straight out of them South Memphis slums, and you are tuning in to Brink Radio right here on 96.3 FM. Talk about bumping 96.3 because, you know, Brink put the B in bumping. Listen, we got a super talented guest on this show, man, and I'm so glad to have this person on this show because I be seeing him on TV all the time, you know. He almost make me want to hire Chioza Law Firm, you know. If I get into a fender bender, I might have to call them. We got my guy, actor extraordinaire. We're talking about Kenan Walker. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother, man, and I appreciate you having me on your platform, man. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, we got a lot to talk about, but thank you for being a guest. Like I say, it means a lot. Of course, I did mention I've been seeing you on the commercials for a while. You were pretty much like a celebrity in this city, man. Duckmaster.
Right.
Duckmaster. Let's talk about that first, man.
Well, Duckmaster, I've been doing that 6 years. Okay. 6 years now. And like I said, I'm just as surprised by that as anybody. Because it wasn't on the list of things that I thought I'd grow up to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? Coming up in Memphis, I never aspired to be the Duckmaster. But, I guess God had different plans for me, man. I ended up doing that October 2018. I went to the Peabody to work as a concierge.
Okay.
Right now, before that, I was already an actor since I was 13.
Yeah.
Former tour guide, Civil Rights Museum for 7 years. Created the first tour for the Stax Museum. Stayed there about 5 years. Mm-hmm. Did African American city tours with a company called the Tour of Possibilities for five and a half years. And my daughter, Kennedy, is almost 15. So I was already an actor, historian, public speaker, educator, and a father.
Yeah.
I didn't know that those things were going to be preparation for an opportunity that was waiting on me when I went to the Peabody. But I went to work as the concierge. There was a Duckmaster named Anthony who'd been there for 9 years.
Okay.
The assistant Duckmaster to him was an older man named Doug. Doug happened to be the hotel historian. He found out about my historian background. So in the days he would march the ducks, he'd come over to the concierge desk and we would just kind of chop it up, kind of picking each other's brains. 3.5 months after I became a concierge, Anthony, the Duckmaster, became a father. His wife had a baby. He left. Doug became the official Duckmaster. Walked up to me one day. He said, "Kenan, I've been watching you." I said, "Doug, for what?" It's a weird way to start a conversation, man.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? And he said, "No, I really think you have what it takes to be successful at being a Duckmaster." I said, "You want to try it?" I said, "Nah, man, I don't want to do that." But it's because the thing was, I had in my head, all these reasons why I didn't want to do it. I never seen somebody like me do it. It wasn't an aspiration for me. Plus, I had just been promoted to being the club floor concierge a week before he asked me that. So I'm on this private floor, man. I got private lounges, open bar, hot hors d'oeuvres, all these amenities, and it was just me hosting the happy hour. It was nice. All those tips was nice. I was like, oh, this is legal.
Yeah.
This is mine. I get to keep all this?
All yours.
I said, no, Doug, I'm going to stay right here, man. Now, I am where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? I told him no 3 times. He asked me 7 times. After that 7th time, I was just like, all right, man, like you're adamant about this, right? I prayed about it, woke up the next morning, had a complete sense of peace about trying it. Then I started doing my research on it, and I realized that a black man named Edward Pembroke started the Duck March in 1940.
Wow.
The very first Duckmaster was a black man in 1940 who created the ceremony, created the title, held the position 51 years.
Wow.
51 years. And since him, there had never been another official black Duckmaster in history. So it was clear to my spirit that God gave me the opportunity to go from teaching history to making history if I was to accept this role.
Yeah.
So I accepted the assistant Duckmaster position February 23rd, 2019. Meaning I was still club floor concierge. Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings, I'd switch and become assistant Duckmaster Sunday, Monday. So I was getting the best of both worlds, right?
Right.
January 2020, get word of this virus coming from overseas.
Yeah.
Doug, an older man, he was at the at-risk age. He left one day. Left. No 2 weeks, he left. The day after he left, they shut the club floor down.
Wow.
They had food and stuff sitting out, hors d'oeuvres and all that. Meaning, if I hadn't taken that assistant Duckmaster position, I would have lost that job up on that club floor completely. They closed it for 2.5 years.
Wow.
So I stepped out of assistant Duckmaster into the official Duckmaster. As the floor, I was the concierge on closed behind me. And then 2 months later, the world changed around me.
Yeah.
Right? So it's one of two ways, I guess, you can look at it, right? Either I became the official Duckmaster at the worst possible time in history, or the way I choose to look at it, the best possible time. Because I think what the pandemic did was it's the one thing that happened in our lifetime that affected all of us.
Yes.
Equally.
Yes.
You dig what I'm saying? It doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what your beliefs are, your political views, religious views, it don't matter. Your life changed when the pandemic hit. And it put us all in the same boat of needing some kind of hope, some kind of joy, like something to give us something to look forward to getting back to once the world opened back up.
Yeah.
So when I got back to Duckmaster and after being furloughed, let me tell you 2 things happened that made me look at being Duckmaster the way that I do. The thing that got me out the house was the Black Lives Matter marches.
Yeah.
This is right around the same time as George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. I'm looking at Facebook Live. I'm seeing these marches organizing from the National Civil Rights Museum. So I was like, yo, I got a responsibility to be there.
Yeah.
I must be there. So that's what got me out the house. So I participated 4 marches, 4 days in a row. By the 4th day, you can see division amongst the people leading the marches, like the national activists beefing with the Black Lives Matter activists, like openly arguing.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, if I'm following behind people who don't have a clear vision, then what am I doing? Right? So as we were marching, I kind of said a prayer and I was like, all right, well, God, what can I do as an individual that hopefully will affect some kind of change? And I realized at that point we were marching straight down 2nd Street past the Peabody.
Yeah.
And I looked up at the hotel, I was like, yo, that's it.
Yeah.
When I get back to work, I'm the Duckmaster. I'm the Duckmaster. You
Yeah.
dig what I'm saying? I'm that symbol of joy. I'm that symbol of hope. I'm that symbol of understanding and history and awareness. And, you know what I mean, I can engage in the difficult dialogue. This is what changed my life, was teaching our history.
Right.
But I'm also a father too, so I can empathize with people just wanting the kids to be happy. You know what I'm saying? And I realized, all right, well, if this wasn't my plan, right, then there had to be a much bigger plan for me to do it. I was prepared before I got there. I was put in place to do what I thought I was there to do. Someone took notice of me doing that, offered me an opportunity, and wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Right. So now 6 years later, February 23rd was 6 years of being Duckmaster. And man, since being on that platform, it's opened so many doors for me. You know what I mean? It's exposed me to the world. I'm in travel channel shows. I was on CNN. I was on the game show To Tell the Truth. I'm on international travel channel shows. I'm on, I guess I'm a pretty big deal on TikTok too.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But the thing is, the approach that it taught me was to just stay present in the moment. I mean, stay in tune with who you cross paths with.
Yeah.
All right? And to let the moments lead you to the next moment. Stop looking ahead of where you are. I mean, don't worry about what has not happened. Focus on what's in front of you and let the plan lead you. And that's all I've been doing. And man, and by doing that, connections have been made, doors have been opened, opportunities have been presented. And me unknowingly, I received a lot of those opportunities from people that were sitting there in that lobby.
Wow.
People who were casting agents, people who were directors, people who were screenwriters, playwriters. I didn't know it. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was just operating in purpose on that platform. And people saw somebody like me doing it, but then they felt something too. They was like, nah, this dude ain't just talented. Like he's passionate about what he's doing. There's like this light around him. Because it was just like, yo, it's not me doing this. I'm a vessel. I'm fully trusting God to tell me what to and what not to do in every situation. I don't lose sight of the fact that I'm a black man on this platform in the middle of the Peabody. International, in a bar.
Right, yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? So it's a lot that comes along with that. You know what I mean? That I got to be cautious of and mindful of. You know what I mean? But I just trust my spirit to tell me what to and what not to do. And man, now kids are running up to me like, yo, Duckmaster, you're really here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm amazed because I'm at the best place in my life, but it was through a plan that wasn't mine. So,
Absolutely,
I thank
man.
God for the Duckmaster platform.
And that's beautiful, man. And of course, it's also afforded you to meet a lot of notable people, man. I saw pictures with you. I want to say, was that Angela Yee?
Angela Yee.
Let's talk about that as well as some of the other people that this position allowed you to meet.
Man, I'm going to tell you what blew my mind is when I met Angela Yee. I used to watch the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, faithfully. You dig what I'm saying? So I think St. Jude was having some kind of event here in Memphis. So there were a lot of, notable people. Not that I believe everybody's notable, but when I say notable, I mean people that you might recognize. They brought a lot of notable people to Memphis. Man, Angela Yee came to the Duck March, all right? Sat at one of the front tables. And so after the ceremony, I went up to her. I said, hey, excuse me, I'm gonna interrupt your conversation. My name's, Kenan. I just wanted to, thank you for showing up. When I tell you, she looked at me, she said, oh, I know exactly who you are. I did my research on you on the way down here. You're the second Black Duckmaster in history. You were a tour guide at the Civil Rights Museum, and then Stax, you did African American city tours, and you're an actor. I was like, yo, Angela Yee knows who I am. Man, Angela Yee knows me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Thing is, like I said, I lose sight of how many publications and magazine interviews and articles and, stories that have been done on me because I'm too busy operating in the moment.
Right.
That interview was that moment, and I move on to the next moment. So many moments have happened that have manifested, and exposed my story to the world that I lose sight of how many people have access to my journey. So the fact that Angela Yee, you dig what I'm saying, like did research on me, knew exactly who I was, read on me on the plane, to Memphis.
Yeah.
Mind blowing to me. But that's how God works. You know what I'm saying? When God showcases you, man, he will put you in front of people that, you never thought you'd cross paths with. And when you do cross paths with them, they're happy to see you.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? So Angela Yee, she's one. John Murray from the Sherry Shepherd Show. I crossed paths with him. I signed the cane to him.
Wow.
Right? Gave it to him, man. He went back to the Sherry Shepherd Show, and they talked about me. They showed video of me marching ducks on the Sherry Shepherd Show next week.
That's incredible, man.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, him, Samuel L. Jackson, David Arquette, who's a good friend of mine. We got a project coming out this year.
Okay.
We got a few things in the works. Shout out to David Arquette, man. I met Paul Ruebens, Pee Wee Herman, through David Arquette. And Paul Ruebens, man, Paul Ruebens was such a genuine friend to me, man. I grew up watching Pee Wee Herman. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Pee Wee's Playhouse, Big Top Pee Wee, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Never thought you'd meet Pee Wee Herman. You dig what I'm saying? But I met David Arquette through some people that I met in that lounge up there on that club floor.
Yeah.
They introduced me to him. He and I became friends. He plugged me with Paul Ruebens. Paul Ruebens pitched me to the executive producers of the game show To Tell the Truth.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They contacted me, flew me out there to Hollywood, and both David Arquette and Paul Ruebens were there in Hollywood to greet me and appeared on that same episode as me, that ended up being Paul Ruebens' last television episode in history. You know what I mean? We had dinner together at the Beverly Hills Hotel in the Polo Lounge. All these amazing things have happened because of what I was doing in the moment on the platform God put me on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did not know that Paul Ruebens was dying from cancer.
Right.
Last 6 years of his life, he was battling cancer. Last 3.5 years of his life, he was my friend.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Send me birthday messages, you know what I'm saying? My birthday, Christmas cards. I was on the Christmas card Pee Wee Herman mailing list. I mean, now, for those of you who were friends with Paul, you know what I'm talking about. Apparently, he had a group of people of exclusive friends he would mail Christmas cards to every year. You know what I mean? And I was on that list. But Paul believed in me, man. Like, he opened a lot of doors for me, never asked me for anything. And he was just a genuine friend because he believed in what I was doing. You know what I mean? So rest in peace to, Paul Ruebens.
Definitely.
But yeah, a lot of people have crossed my path while Duckmaster.
Man, that's incredible. But of course, we got to go ahead and transition into the movie, man. The reason why you're here. Betrayed Thirst.
Yeah.
This movie is incredible.
Thank you,
I mean, phenomenal. And of course, I'm definitely familiar with your work. Of course, I did watch The Reaper, man. We're going to talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
But your role, you actually played a character by the name of Jamal. Mm-hmm. How would you describe Jamal?
Man, Jamal Wiggins. Jamal Wiggins, successful attorney. Okay. You know what I mean? He owned a law firm, Tate and Wiggins Law Firm, with his close friend Darren Tate. And Jamal, he's a loving husband. You know what I mean? Married 15 years. Really does adore his wife. He's a good man, good father, great attorney. You know, really has his head on straight. But in his situation, something fizzles. You know what I mean? Something kind of fizzles in his relationship. And I think that the thing is, as you'll see when people watch the film, sometimes there's no clear-cut reason why things have fizzled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes things just fade away for whatever reason. So Jamal and his marriage, there's something sexually has fizzled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not through any lack of him trying or something due to something he did in the past or having to make amends for doing wrong. Something's fizzled. But he's faithful, he's loyal, and he's loving. But once, once the door is continuously slammed in your face, you know what I mean? Your wife is constantly falling asleep on you. Your back is turned to you. I think it kind of puts him in a position to where I'm checking all boxes. You know what I mean? I'm checking all boxes as far as what a husband and a father and provider are supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting back the rewards that a man in a marriage should have. You know what I mean? So Jamal ends up crossing paths with a client named Jada, who originally was not supposed to be his client. This was supposed to be Darren's client. You know what I mean? I don't want to give away too much in the movie. But Jada, who is played by the amazing Brie Hassan, did a great job, man. She killed this role.
Yes.
She Jada is seeking compensation for her husband, who was injured in a firefighting accident 3 years prior to her coming to Tate & Wiggins law firm. And Jamal, being an old school lawyer, he wants to, meet the husband.
Yeah.
Let me see what your home life is like. Let me see who it is that, I could potentially be representing if I take this case on. And when he gets to Jada's home situation, I think he kind of realizes, you deal with a lot. He's very verbally abusive. You know what I mean? Very disrespectful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, extremely disrespectful. And shout out to Michael, who played Xavier, in the movie. He killed his role too.
Yeah, he
know
did.
what I mean? But I think when Jamal sees firsthand, the abuse that Jada endures in her normal life, I think he's concerned for her. You know what I mean? I think that concern comes from a genuine place. It's not a malicious thing. He really is concerned for her well-being after seeing firsthand what she has to deal with in her home life. And when that appreciation for that concern is returned, I think it reaches him in a way that is filling a gap from the lack of appreciation that he's not receiving from his wife. You know what I mean? And I think that when Jamal tries to take whatever's being triggered in him from the appreciation from Jada back home to his wife, and he's continuously being rejected, I think it opens up a doorway into what people will see when they watch Betrayed Thirst on May 6th, man.
I promise, man. We're talking about May 6th. It will be available. One thing about this role, man, viewers usually watch movies looking for characters that they can relate to. What would you say makes Jamal so relatable?
Well, I think the thing that makes Jamal relatable is that he really is. There's more. I think we get a lot of, especially black men. You know what I'm saying? We get a lot of criticism. There's no good black men out there. You know what I mean? No one's concerned with home, and nobody's concerned about being a present father, provider. Jamal is all of those things, just like a lot of black men are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that people should be able to relate to him in that aspect. But then at the same time, I think that the thing that people will see that Jamal is going through in this movie, I think hopefully what that will do is it will turn a mirror to them, to where they could ask themselves, what would I do if I was Jamal?
Right.
If I was in his shoes, I know what may or may not have happened was right or wrong.
Yeah.
But if it was me, what would I do? You know what I mean? So I think that through hopefully seeing his story, they can flip that question and ask themselves, how do I relate to him?
Yeah. And it's crazy, man. Just watching the film, just seeing him being deprived by his wife. I see that so many times from so many. I got, constituents or friends who are married, and they talk about that. Sometimes they vent about that. And I'm just like, wow. And to see that, I ain't gonna say finally being, displayed on film, but to see that finally getting light, I'm like, thank you, because I feel like people definitely have to have a voice, and they want to see people that they can identify with And like I say, in my opinion, you definitely can relate to Jamal, man. Of course, this movie is going to create a lot of dialogue, within our community. It's going to create that, as I spoke about when hosting, it's going to create that water cooler conversation. What would you do if you were Jamal? What would you do if you were in Darren's position? Because that's a friend, ride or die. And of course, we will be interviewing him shortly. But let's go ahead and talk more about you actually experienced loss during this film. I want to talk about how you were able to turn that into motivation while on set.
Well, yeah, the experience of filming Betrayed Thirst for me was it was a beneficial and needed and therapeutic and healing journey, kind of all in one. This is, and ironically, it was a bonding experience, between me and Jaron, because while we were filming The Reaper Man, his father passed.
Wow.
And Jaron continued to work while going through that. Well, my stepfather, Ty Brazell, he passed the week before I had to leave town to go film Betrayed Thirst. So because of that, I had to miss his funeral. And very few people, I think, in the cast knew what I was going through. Jaron knew what I was going through.
Yeah.
But I know that Ty was excited about me filming this movie. He was excited about all my work. When he was in the hospital, a few days before he passed away, he watched Cubic Zirconia, which is another one of Jaron's films that I'm in,
right,
as a Detective Byron Porter. It's part of the Styx universe. He was able to make it like halfway through that film until, he went to sleep, and I don't think he got a chance to finish it, but that's the last film that he got a chance to see before he passed away.
Wow.
So I knew that I couldn't back out. I couldn't back out of the film. The locations were locked in Nashville and Jackson and Bolivar, and, the cast was dependent on me, and this was I'm not gonna say my first leading role, because technically Reaper Man was my first leading role.
Right.
But it spoiler alert, I'm supernatural with half of that role. You dig what I'm saying? So, this was gonna be my first leading role as a romantic lead, as a lawyer, as a family man, like really carrying a film on my back. And I wanted to do that in honor of Ty, but I also wanted to do that to honor Jaron, for giving me another opportunity to star in a feature film. And I wanted to do that to leave some things behind, a lot of what I do, man, is, I do a lot of duck mastering, and then I'll juggle a role, fill in my off time with a commercial or two, get right back to duck mastering, and then back to another role. My off time is still work.
Yeah.
So I wanted this experience, out of town to be, something where I could focus on this role, on this project, with this cast of people, going to these locations to create this movie. So every single moment that I was on this set, every single moment that we had together, every single moment driving on the road, I was cherishing every moment. Every bond, every experience. I was building bonds with castmates and building real strong relationships with a lot of my cast members who I know I'll be family with for the rest of my life. But I was doing it in celebration of life, and art. And I put everything that I had into Jamal. I think a lot of people will see that Jamal, is very passionate, to the part where you'll see him emotional, you'll see him broken, you'll see him, feeling guilt, you'll see him really wrestling with his morality, in the movie. But I was able to take what I was going through personally and put that into Jamal, put him into what he was going through emotionally. And I think that I made some decisions with this character that a lot of people have been afraid to make. I think men have a thing where they don't, think it's weak to cry on screen, or it's weak to cry, period. Not realizing that most of y'all is crying behind closed doors.
Facts.
Dig what I'm saying? But all it is that's pain leaving the body. Sometimes you gotta let that go, because we harbor so much and we walk around like a ticking time bomb. So I think I was able to take what I was going through personally and channel it into Jamal, and hopefully when people see it, they'll feel not only they won't only see what he's going through, but they'll feel the pain that he's experiencing after having made some decisions that he makes in the movie.
You actually mentioned off the air that this was your first love scene.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about maybe the challenges or the reservations that you had about this, man, because the nerves are there. They got to be there. Let's talk about it.
Well, the thing is, with this being a romance thriller, you know what I mean? This was my first opportunity to play a romantic lead, you know what I'm saying, with a lot of physicality in the film. So when I knew who I would be having these scenes with, who was Brie Hassan, you know what I mean, the first thing that I wanted to do was reach out to her, personally, you know what I mean, and try to let her know, like, hey, I know we're going to be working together. You know what I mean? By now, if you've read the script, we have these kind of scenes coming up, and I want to meet up with you to kind of build a rapport, build a trust, you know what I mean, build some kind of chemistry.
Correct.
But then to also let you know that, I got you, you know what I mean, respectfully. You know what I mean? I want to make sure you know that you're respected and protected at all times. So I reached out to her, and we met up, you know what I mean, and kind of read opposite each other. But we just got to know each other first. And expressed what, some of our concerns may be, what's your comfort level, you know what I mean? Because at the same time, we wanted it to look real.
Right.
I mean, if this doesn't look real, if you don't believe that this is what's going on, it takes you out the movie.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many films where it's a lot of dry hunching, man. It's a lot of dry hunching in these movies, man. I'm like, okay, what was the point of this? How did it add to the story?
Right.
I see your draws. Like, I see everything. Like,
exactly.
what is this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there's a market for that. So I'm not knocking, those who create that type of content. But at the same time, that's not what this is. You know what I mean? But Jaron's work, you know what I mean, he transports you into a world, you know what I mean, of escapism to where, he really takes you on a ride for the hour and a half, 2 hours of the time length of the film. But if the sexual chemistry between these characters was not believable, then the rest of the story makes no sense.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to connect with Bree first to establish a bond, establish a trust. And we did that. We did that, you know what I'm saying? I think that having gone through that, and I believe it was her, if I'm not mistaken, it was her first love scenes in a feature film as well. We trusted each other, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that we pulled it off, that it looked real, you know what I mean, that it was believable, but it was something that we both would be proud of and not ashamed of.
Right. And
I think that we did that.
Yeah.
I think we did that.
I agree, man. Hey, it was very steamy in that theater, man. And it's funny being in there at the screening or the premiere and just kind of peeping around, looking to see how people were responding. And they responded exactly how they were supposed to.
Yeah.
They laughed at the stuff that was funny. And then they kind of got, like, for example, the moments, and I'm not trying to give much of the movie away, but the moments like where your wife in the film was, all right, good night, and then she got the bonnet on and she just extra. People like, girl, you better get him something, you know. Everything clicked in this movie. I think you guys did a phenomenal job, and that's all the more reason why people need to tune in. We're talking about May 6th. Go ahead and let the people know all of your social media, website, any booking information. That way they can get in touch with you, man. Well,
again, it's Kenan Walker. I mean, on Facebook, it's Kenon Walker. On Instagram, Kenan_Walker. TikTok, Duckmaster Kenan. You know what I mean? That's that's all Duckmastering content. But you got as far as booking, you can always reach out to me on either one of those platforms. I have an IMDb page as well on imdb.com, so you can always pull me up there. Walker Kenan is at Gmail is my email address. So if you need to get in touch with me, directly. But as far as Betrayed Thirst, man, May 6th, and then it'll be out on Amazon, it'll be on Apple TV, it'll be on Plex, a few other streaming sites. And this is one that I'm excited for people to finally see, man. Like, this is the one where it's a great date movie. You know what I mean? Watch it with your spouse, watch it with your significant others, watch it with a group of friends, you know what I mean? Watch it while sipping wine, watch it while elevating, you know what I'm saying? But then be prepared to have a conversation afterwards, because I think the point of the Betray anthology, and keep in mind this is the second installment in the Betray anthology. The first Betray came out last year, starring Shy Smith, which also written and directed by Jaron Lockridge. Phenomenal movie. I love the first Betray. But this is a separate story in the Betray anthology, different set of characters, not the same storyline, but they all fall under the Betray umbrella, which are stories about betrayal and relationships. So this is the second installment in the Betray series, which is Betray Thirst. You know what I mean? But it will hopefully inspire people to engage in dialogue. The men will present their point of views, women theirs. But kind of bounce ideas off of each other. But get ready to be entertained, man, because it's a good time.
Absolutely. You guys make sure y'all tune in. We're talking about May 6th. It will be available on the platforms he mentioned. Now, before we get out of here, man, I want you to go ahead and tell the people, we're talking about a hard sell. Look into this camera right here. Tell the people why they should tune into the movie May 6th. Go.
Man, the reason that you all need to be excited about Betrayed Thirst is that one, man, it's a high quality, independently made film that feels like a Hollywood film, looks like a Hollywood film. The level of acting is top notch. There's nothing in this film that makes you feel like you're watching just an indie film. But the writing is great. The directing is great. And the fact that it's coming out of Memphis, it's coming out of Jackson, Tennessee. This is a Tennessee-made film. I think this is something that people will be proud of. It's a storyline that you don't often see, as far as, successful black lawyers, and what they go through behind closed doors, family men, and the whole family dynamic. Of course, yes, you've seen stories of infidelity before, but I don't think that you've seen too many stories that have put the ball back in your court to not only it switches the perspective from you saying, oh, he was wrong for that versus, oh, well, was he wrong for that? Was she wrong for that? Were they wrong for that? So it's something that's a think piece. It's something that will hopefully get you excited to continue to talk about the movie afterwards. And then after you have those conversations, watch them again. Because there's so many, there are some films out there that once you watch it once, it's like, okay, I saw that and I'll never have to see that again. This one, hopefully, you can watch over and over again. And every time you watch it with a new set of friends, a new set of people, it's a new conversation to be had. And it's another brilliant film from Jaron Lockridge, who I can honestly say, and I'm not even being biased, everything he makes gets better. He started out great and continued to get greater. And I think that this is some of Jaron's best work. Take me out of it. From the consumer, from the audience perspective, I do feel like this is some of Jaron's best work until his next work. But this is definitely one that I think you all should be prepared to buckle in. Put the phone down when you're watching the movie, man. Sit and watch the movie. Enjoy the film. Enjoy the story. Enjoy the acting. And I guarantee when you come out of it, you're going to be like, that was dope. That was dope.
Phenomenal, man. Like I say, thank you for being the guest on the show, my brother. Y'all, don't go nowhere. We got more cast members from the film. Matter of fact, I think we got Bree Hassan in the building, and I think Everett Anderson is in the building as well. So like I said, don't y'all move, man. We continuing this. We talking about Betrayed Thirst. Stay in the building. This is a Betrayed Thirst takeover. Don't move.